Okay, so the recording is on. Okay, so last time we left off with UMask. I showed you how UMask worked, okay? When you say UMask, you're taking away the permissions. Here, so you type UMask and the default UMask is set to 022. Okay, so it will take the two permissions out. And now what is number two? So it will block number two, okay, out of six. Okay, so the default for if the UMask is 00, default for the file is 6. There is for file there is never execute automatically, okay? It has to play between 6, read and write, read and write, read and write. So the default what it does is it will give you 4 here. So most of the time you will be end up being 644 because you have to look in the position here where the 022 is at, where the 0 is, what position is 0 is, what position is 2 is, and 2 is. So if it takes out 2 2, so if it takes out 0 permissions, 6 is left, and it take out 2 permission. So if it take out 2 permission, only right is left. Okay, I mean read is left, and out of group only right is left. I'm sorry, read is left. Okay, any questions before I proceed? You guys have a good grasp of how this is progressing and how this is working. So you will be working a lot with this, not UMass directly, but granting permissions and all that. You will be working a lot. All right, good. So looks like everybody got this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play around a little bit and see how the permissions work on folder here. Okay. So let's see here. What do I do? So let's see how many users I have. I have a user terminator. Okay, good. Okay, so let's play this game here. I'm gonna we'll we'll create a folder here, and then based on that we will assign some permissions and see how that will work. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder. Alright, so I'm going to clear this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder mkdir/data, okay? And let's look at the permission ls-ld data. Okay, so the permission is read, write, execute, read, execute, and then the owner is root. That means the user is root, and the group is root. So what we're gonna do is cat etc group, and we have a developer, we have a terminator. So let's create a group called accounting. Okay, what is the command to add a group? Group add. Okay, I'm creating a group name, group add accounting. Okay, and I'm hit enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign that group to I'm going to make a terminator is a member of that group. Okay, so if you do id terminator, so he's in his own group here, so we could add more groups here. A user ID could be a part of many groups, right? Everybody agrees, right? So let's do that. So I'm gonna do user mod hyphen lowercase a uppercase G accounting, and then I'm assigning that to terminator. Okay, if you do ID terminator, now he's a part of two groups. Okay, he's a part of a group 4000, which is 4001, which is accounting. Let's do cat group. And you see there is accounting here, and terminator is a user here. He belongs to that group here. Let me clear this. So I'm going to create a folder mkdir. Okay, and then I'm going to do group add accounting, and I'm going to add this sucker here to user here, and let's see, ls-ld. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. So here's the group here. I'm going to highlight here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the group here first. I'm going to change the group for the folder here, okay? I'm changing the group for the folder. So what I'm going to do is command is chgrp and then accounting, the group name, and then I'm going to give it to the data folder. Okay, if you do ls-ld data, now the folder is now the group is changed to accounting here. Accounting, change group data. Okay, so I'm gonna make all this thing into. Okay, so I have mkdir data and all this here, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm logged in as Terminator. So what I do here is I go into cd slash data. Okay, and then over here I should be able to create a file here. Touch file 1. Okay, it says the permissions are denied. So I'm going to exit out and come back in here, okay? Can somebody tell me why the permissions are denied? It's right in front of you.
So it doesn't have the right
Very good.
permission.
Exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
Even though the user have full permissions to write it, but the folder doesn't have the right permissions. Okay. This is the beauty of permissions here. How you do the access control. Okay. So let's go ahead and give them a permission. So now accounting is there, user is there. Okay, let me just quickly copy this here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the permissions here. So how am I going to give the permissions? chmod, and then I want to only give the write permissions here. Okay, so I could do g plus write slash data. If I don't want to give this here g plus write, what would be the number? What would be the number? Number would be 755. Okay, number would be 755. I'll tell you how. 755. No, 775. So we are making, this is read write execute, which is 7, and then we are making this one group as everything read write execute. So we have to make it 7, and then we leave the rest same. 4 plus 1 is 5, so we leave the rest one same. Okay, all right. Okay, so now let me do this. Now when I do this, I'm able to do this here. So the user is able to read and write the file here. Okay, so let's try it as a user 1. Let's log in as user 1. Okay, let's do ID user 1. So he's not part of a accounting group. So let's see if he's able to create a file. So the permissions is denied for the user 2 since he's not part of this group here. Okay, this is pretty simple here, okay? If you're part of a group and then the data, that folder belongs to that group, you are able to create a file. As simple as that. Okay, good. So my next topic is, let's see here. My next topic is called set group ID. Okay, set group ID. SGID. Alright, so let's take a look here what this is. So I'm going to put in Google here SIG, SGID. Okay, and yeah, okay. So SID, SGID. Okay. So I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna write it the definition, and then I'll explain you what it really means. Okay. So what will happen is all the files that are created in the directory with SGID set belongs to the group to which directory belongs. Not to the group, not to the group, not to the user group. Not to the user group belongs. Okay, so let's see here. So if you do ls-l, let me exit here. You do ls-l here, right? So look at this here. The user the file is created. Who created the file? Anybody? Who is the owner of the file here?
Owner is the terminator and the group is the terminator.
Exactly. Very good. And if you look at the group of the folder here, Group of the folder is accounting. And then, but the group over here for the file is terminator here. So if you have to be a group, belong to this group to be able to read this file here. So that doesn't work here. So if 2 or 3 people are working in a team, and if you can't have access to what your team member is doing on a project, then that's a problem here. So what will happen is you will set the grid on the folder itself. So whoever comes in and create the file there, so the group ID will stay with the folder, not with the person who created it. Okay, so let's take a look here. So what this actually means is special permission set for directories. So whenever user create a file and directories, even directories inside the sgid configured folder, it will inherit group ownership of the SIG folder. Okay, and then the ownership is not retroactive. Okay, so it's pretty clear cut. It's not very complex here. So let's do how we're gonna do this here. So if you do ls-ld/data, so you see the permissions here. User, which is the owner, group, and other users. And over here it says D here, right? For directory. So let's go ahead and set the permissions for set this as setgid. Okay, so how are we gonna do that? It's very easy. So what you do is chmod, okay, group g plus s. This time you are setting this as s /data. Okay, now if you do ls-l, no, ls- let me clear this. If you do ls-ld data, okay, so what you see here is you see a little s here. Okay, we have read, write, execute, and also little s is there too on the directory. What does the s means is, that means this folder is set with the setgid. It's S stands for set GID. This means the folder accounting. Whoever creates a file inside the directory data, it will be the group owner would be accounting. So let me just put it there. Okay, did I explain that good here? Let me know. Okay, please. So we changed the ownership. I'm sorry, not the ownership. We changed the group to set GID, the folder. Okay, and this part I'm gonna remove this too. And what happened here is, look at this part of the permissions here. If you look at this part of the permissions, when you see a little s there, that means, so whenever anybody creates a file in here or a folder, it will be accounting. So let's create this as a terminator. So I'm gonna say touch file2. If I do ls-l, now you see the group permissions are accounting. Now if you do mkdir t2, and if I do ls-l, now I created a folder here. Now the folder inside this folder is also belongs to accounting here. Okay. All right.
Sir, I have a little bit small question.
Mm-hmm.
So Terminator accounting has only the right for like a permission for read and write, right? Correct.
Oh no, he has the read write execute permission.
Oh, he read and write execute permission. Okay, okay.
Look at the
So
group. He's part of a group now, so now he has a read write execute
okay,
permission to that folder.
okay.
That's
So
very that's very good tricky question here. I mean, you're saying, okay, wait a minute, the permissions are for folder, and then permissions are not for the user. But you have to look when he's creating a file in that folder. He's doing this as a group.
okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing. Uh, so suppose if I want to run a script on Terminator accounting. So, and he has only like a permission for read and write. So the script won't gonna work on it, right?
No, I mean,
Because because it's not executing.
if he becomes if the user, there are two things here. If the group has a read write execute permission, then the if the user doesn't have the permission, but he will have as a group.
Uh, I don't get it.
Okay, give me one
So
second. Set as S. So you are asking that if the user may not have a write permissions, right?
no, for the execute permission.
Yeah.
If the user don't have a execute permission, but the folder have it.
Yeah.
So is it going to execute is it going to execute or it's not? Because by itself, the file don't have execute permission.
Let's see here. Yeah, the file is still gonna be read write. Okay, read execute. So
I'm just putting a scenario like
no. You
let's
have
suppose there is
you.
no R.
Well, no. Okay, here. Let's read this here. So what is the first three part here? What is that? What
Read and write
for who?
for Terminator.
Yeah. So if he is a read write,
Hmm.
okay. So even for a root here, there is no execute permissions here. Remember, the execute permissions for the file is not granted. You have to physically grant it. Okay, let's
So
see here. Execute the file permission. The default file permission works off of six. Number six. So even if the umask is set to 0, the most permission you will get is 666.
okay,
Okay, so even the terminator, if this file would have been the executable file, when we're gonna see the executable file when we start scripting. So the
Mhm.
user is not, even the owner of the file is not able to execute it unless he sets the permission here. He have to set the permission for the file before he could execute it.
but what? But but accounting by itself has permission for the execute. So it's like making me a little bit confused. I'm just trying to understand. Uh, but by itself, file has a permission for the executing, right? So it
No,
should run.
no. Right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
I mean, execute in this scenario is the user is able to open that file and read and write to it.
Okay.
Okay, for the when it comes to the file, I have not explained what executing the file means yet.
Okay. So
Okay,
okay, okay,
I'm saving that for scripting part.
okay.
But
But
executing a folder means going inside a folder.
okay. But it's like I'm just trying to understand. Like it's possible that you can run a scripts on those users and files.
Yeah, you could run a script here, but that script has to be executed. You have to change the permission first before you run it.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
safety net. That's a safety net for the files, that because you never know what that file may be. File may be a virus and it could run some damaging commands. Then it will be very bad for the system here. So the system is foolproof, that it keeps the permission. It doesn't allow the permission by default here. You have to explicitly give the permission to each and every file for execute permission.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so when we start the scripting, then we will know what executing is.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so that means that you are grasping the content here. That's very good. If you're getting a question like that, that means you're grasping the content. Okay, so Very good discussion. Okay, so now here the group execution permission will now show as S here. So remember, this one has S, at the same time it has a execute permission for the folder too. For a folder, execute permissions means going inside the folder. So think a folder as a room, and it has a door on it. Okay, so I, as a user terminator, I need to have the execute permission. The folder should have the execute permission on it for anybody to go in there. Okay, so let's remove the execute permission here for the folder here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the execute permission for all of them here. So I'm going to set chmod 666 /data. Okay, so I'm going to do ls-l no, ls-ld data. Okay, so over here you see a read write execute, read write, and then it's showing you the uppercase S here. That means the execute permissions for the data is not there. Okay, and let's try to go in, get out of there, and then try to go in there as a user here. So I'm going to go into the folder data. So the permission is denied. Okay, why is the permission denied here? Because when you look at the group here, it has a capital S. Any group, any of them doesn't have the execute permission. That means, so Zafar is trying to go into the room, right? And he's trying to go into the room, that the room doesn't have the execute permission. The act of going inside the room, in this case data folder, that means it's an execute permission for the directory. Okay, tell me who's not confused here.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. So I'm gonna change this here back to 755. 775. Okay, so now let me go back, try to go back in here. CD data, I'm able to go in there as a regular. Even though I have accounting permission, I'm not able to do it because the permissions are not there. Execute permission is not there. Okay, so is this getting interesting? Are you guys liking this Linux thing so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's see what else. So now the permission says back. Now what you could have is you could have multiple users in the accounting group, and then all those things will work seamlessly here. Okay, if I add the user one to the group accounting, he will have full access. He will have whatever the permission that folder has, he will have access to that. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so the next concept we have is set UID. We have set GID. We had set GID, right? Set GID, group ID. Now you will have this is for the groups. This is for the folder here. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a set GID, set UID on the folder to give some unique permissions here. So let's
Sir,
take.
I'm sorry. Just wanted to understand. You sir write restored permissions. So what is that doing? Restored permissions mean that you are taking uh, SGID. You are taking back, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You are taking
I'm
the
giving
permissions back.
I'm giving original position permissions from here back.
Okay.
Remember, this is only for demo here. I took the permission, execute permission here, right?
And then you take it back.
Yeah, directory is removed. SG, yeah, and then I
Okay.
give the permissions back.
L- Like I'm not getting it. Like
Yeah, I
you
gave
take.
the original positions, original permissions. Look at the original permissions here. The group is read write execute, and read write. Read execute, right, for the directory. See these
Okay.
permissions? I gave that permissions back here. I removed the permissions here, right? In this
Okay.
command, I remove the permission so that the user is not able to go in there.
Okay. Okay. Now I get it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I should have put this here. Okay, so the permission is denied, and then after I gave restored the permission, he's able to get in there. Okay. Okay. Right? Did it make sense now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, okay, good. Let's move on. Let's move on. So there is another concept called set user ID. Okay, so it's set as set UID. Okay, good. So let's see here. Uh, SUID. It inherits the yeah, it's not giving good information here. Okay, so SUID, what does this mean is this file uh this file inherits the owner execute permission. Okay, so let's see here. Give me 1 second here. Execute. Give me 1 second. I'm just looking around some stuff here. Bin ping. Okay. Uh, I don't know why this is not showing up here. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so let's see here. ls hyphen the ping. Give me 1 second here. I think something has changed in the new version. Change mount, you mount CD. Okay, I found one file here. So I'm going to explain. Let's look at this file here. The command ls-l. So what is this command here? This is a command, and then so this is the executable file here. Okay, so when we we are looking at the command for the permissions for the command password. Okay, so look at this permission here. So this is read, write, execute. Okay, so there is a write permission here, and group there is no write permission, and then over here there is no write permission for this here file here. But you know this what is the password file here? Password, you use the password passwd to change the password here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the password as Terminator here. Okay, Terminator is just a regular user. Okay, so what happened here is the command is password here, but look at the write permissions for this command here. as a regular user, you're not able to write the password here. So where is this password command writes this password? Cat etc shadow. Remember, I told you guys like the shadow file holds the password for the users, right? So let's look at okay. Look at this. Look at this permissions here. Permissions for the password file. Nobody has the permissions for the password file here. But yet, I am able to update the password here without even having the permissions here. So why I am able to do that? Because this the executing file, the file which is executing the password update is this file here, and this file has a set UID set on this on the root here. So if this is set, then any regular user could use this as an execute permission here, even though it will have a full permissions, read, write, execute permission. Okay, so tell me who is not confused so far. Okay, so let me write the definitions here. Okay, don't worry, I'm gonna explain here, okay? So let me clear the screen. So let's see if the ping is read, write, execute. I don't want to go into scripting yet. Okay, let's work with this here. with this file. Let's work with this file here. Let's work with this file here. Okay. So what is the permissions for this here? This password file, you have read, write, execute here. And what the password command does is it will write to the shadow. Okay, so who is the owner of this password command? Root. And who is the owner of the shadow file? Root. Okay. But what is happening? The shadow file doesn't have any permissions. The shadow file, this file doesn't have no permissions. Okay, if a file doesn't have any permissions, how is this possible? It's working. Okay, so let's go into this file here and take a look. Okay, let's look at the timestamp here. 9:58 is when the password file was updated today. Okay, why was it updated? Because I changed the password here for the terminator. So I'm going to change the password again. I'm going to look at the date 10/28. So I'm going to look at the date here. Password. So when I type the password, I'm changing the password as a user terminator. Red Hat 2. What does it say? Authentication token manipulation error. Okay, let me exit and come back. Okay. Okay, I was putting in the wrong password. Okay, let me set the password here. Okay, don't worry about this step here. Okay, so let me log in here. I'm gonna log in as terminator. And I'm gonna put in password. Okay, I'm logged in here. Now I'm gonna change the password here as terminator here. Okay, so let's look at this file here. Shadow file. Okay, so I just changed a password here as root. So root would have, regardless of any permission, root would still have full permissions here. So 10/29 as a regular as a root, I changed the password here. Now I'm going to change the password as terminator. So the command is password. So it's asking me to put the current password in. I put in the current password and it's asking me to put a new password in. The password is too similar to old one. Okay, so I'm going to put new password. Okay. Now, this password file was written up 1031. Okay, even though the terminator, or if you look at the permissions, and nobody has permissions for this here. Why is this happening? Because the
Uh, I
command
guess
password. Go ahead.
as far I understand this, that the root is actually using its user, right? Like Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's his family. So that is the reason.
It's what?
It's his family, part of the family.
No,
So
no, 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 no. Okay, look at the, because when I change the permission, I'm running this executing this file here. What file is that? In the background is actually running this file here. Okay,
okay.
so when I run password here, it's running this file here, user bin password. And look at the permission for the password here, it got S in here. Okay, by the definition here, what I said, when this file is set to set UID, the regular inherits the owner execute permission here. Okay, so this
So
file,
Terminator is the owner. So Terminator is the
regular user,
it's a regular user.
and who is the owner?
Root is the owner.
So it says here, uh,
But sir, root don't have any access, right? Like root don't have anything.
if the, even though there is no any root is a master. Remember, this is the beauty of root, is even though there are no permissions, any file or folder, if you logged in as root, you have full permissions. This doesn't matter for root what the permissions are set, but root still have permissions here. Okay, so this execute this command is working on this file here. Okay, when you set password, it is updating this file. This command is updating this file here. Okay, let me refresh this. This must be confusing here. Command inherits the owner execution permissions. Okay, and what is the command here? We are using the command password. So we use the command password here. Okay, so we use the command password. And what is the command password does? It updates the file shadow. There are two things going on here. Okay, so um, uh, and Unix command and execute. No, I'm not getting anything here. Okay, so you're running this command here. Okay, running the command password and running this here /user/bin password is the same thing. Okay, if you run this /user/password, it will be the same thing here. It is asking you to update the password here. Oh, Uh, okay, but anyway, don't worry about that one. So what I was trying to say is typing just password and typing the whole thing here is the same thing. Yeah, let's do it same thing with ping. So if you type ping google.com, it's working, right? But if you type the same thing here, user bin and ping google.com, it's going to be the same thing. It will be working the same thing. This one, some of these commands are built in here, so you don't have to like type the whole thing all over from the actually this is a good point here. These files are executing files. When you had the question earlier, what you're doing here is you are actually executing the file here. The commands you're typing, the regular command ls, you're executing the command file. So where is this coming from? Which ls? If you type this here, user bin/bash, and hit enter, you're using the same command here.
So, so that means it's like a whole entire the texture, like
Yeah,
the
you
ls.
in here instead of running the entire absolute path, you're just doing the ls here, but the system knows what
So,
ls is.
so like in this way, you can say like this whole entire script which is running, it's actually binded with one key, correct?
Yeah, let's look at the permissions for this here. Yeah, the ls is very common, so everybody has execute permission here. But ls is ls is not writing not creating any third party. It's just giving you the output here, okay? But in the let's see here. Bin bash ping used to be the classic example here, but don't worry about that. Okay, now let's drive this home here, okay? So I'm running the password here. What does the password commands does? It updates the shadow file, okay? Okay, do you agree? When I change the password here, password file, it updates the shadow file. Okay? Password command, it updates the shadow file. And what is the permissions for the password file? It has read write and s here. So this command, any regular everybody is able to execute this file, but this file, what is this command is doing is actually updating a file which doesn't have the permissions. It doesn't have any permissions. So it's taking the root's permission, the owner's permissions here, because the owner is root. So what I'm gonna do is, as a root, uh, let me remove the permissions here and see what happens. Okay, so this is kind of dangerous, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna do chmod, okay, user -s, and then I'm gonna do this here, password file. Okay, let's run the ls-l. Now the little s is gone here. Okay, there is no s. So as a regular user, let's see if I'm able to run the password command at all. Okay, I'm gonna do password, and then it says the current password, and then it says the new password. So let me put in the new password. Okay, so now we're gonna get here is authentication token manipulation error. Why are we getting this here? Because the user, it doesn't have the SUID set on it here, so it is not able to inherit the root permission here for this file. Which file is that? ls-l etc shadow. So let me put this back here. I'm going to put this back here, plus s. Okay, and let's do ls-l. Okay, so the little s is back here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the password command again. I'm going to give the current password, and the new password, enter new password again. Okay, now it says all authentication tokens are updated. Why is it updated? Because we have set the set UID for this command here, that is able to become root and is able to write to the shadow file here. Okay, I think you guys are
So just a quick question, like, is it possible that you can put the conditions in the password as well? Like before that, you were entering a password, the system was keep on saying you that it's a you have your password should be like a 8 characters or it's like a
yeah,
similar password.
we already talked about that, didn't we? We already talked about this here when I showed you the password file right here, user administration. Yeah, when I talked to you about the password file here, over here you could set the complexity, how this is the file will be uh, right here. So grace period here. So you're talking about the complexity, right? This if you
Yes.
have to have like the character and all that. Yes. Yeah, you could.
Like my uppercase should be I should have like a one uppercase or like a one special character or something like that.
Yeah, those things are set in this file here. Which file is this? Yeah, this one. This is the user login definitions we talked about. This
Okay.
is the
Okay.
file we talked about, and let's go in that file here now that you have root. So login definitions here. Here is the password aging control, and let's see here minimum maximum values. Command user should create home directories, permissions, enable user deletion, encryption here.
That's what I was trying to find it out at that time because the password always keep on going in the numbers. It's like that. If I want to put a characters on it, like alphabets, something like a terminator dot with a special character, so I can have access for that, or I always have to go with the numbers.
Okay, for the root you are exempt with anything. You could put anything you want. You could just set the root password to like only 1 2 3. That's it. It will accept it. And as
Okay.
a root, if you're using the user password, you could set whatever you want here. But
No, but uh,
if you're setting the password as your as a regular user, then there is a built-in complexity it will ask you to follow.
uh, but there is a way to add alphabets in it and a special character and uppercases conditions on it.
Yeah, I mean you should be able to add as is as is now. So what were you trying to do?
Like I'm just trying to like while I'm creating a user, suppose it's a, like a user one. So so I'm saying user one, I'm just putting a condition on the user one that while you're creating a password, so you should have like a one uppercase, you should have one at least one number in your password and also one special character dot static whatever you want. Like any other online website, you just go and make an account over
Yeah.
there. So it always asks you for to put all those things. So that's what I was trying to do it.
As the root user, you won't care. But if you are setting this
Yeah,
as a new
I'm asking
password,
for a user. I'm asking for a user.
yeah, as a user, there is some built-in complexity it has to follow. Like here, let me log in as a regular user one, and I'm gonna put on the password red hat. Now this password was set this password was set for by root,
Y-
so it took it. Now if I try to change the password here, okay, I'm writing the password here, and then red
It's your
hat.
user, sir. It's your user, right? It's not a root. It's user.
Yeah, if you're trying to set as a user, it will ask you to create a complex password.
Okay.
But for the root, it doesn't care.
Okay.
So I put down the old password was red hat one. I mean red hat. I'm putting it down red hat one here. It's not taking it. So I'm gonna put down red hat two. It won't take it. Let's try red hat 1 2 3 4. So it took that one.
And I also and also special character on it in it.
Yes. It will take it.
It will take it. Okay. Okay.
So here's the thing with the password here is Linux already have some built-in complexity here, but if you want to add those, then you have to do that using the LDAP.
What?
L, there is. Have you ever heard about an Active Directory?
Active Directory? Oh, no.
So there is a external software the company may or may not use. Most of the big corporations they use something called Active Directory or LDAP, LDAP. If I have, if we, that is not part of the course here, but if I let me see if I could squeeze this in here later on into the course. I think it's a
Okay.
good thing to learn. But here's a general rule of thumb here: if the regular user accepts the password, then it's complex enough here. Okay,
Okay.
but you as but when you go on to the job here, the complex is the root user is usually about 20 to 25 characters.
Okay.
Yeah, not Red Hat. We will no. We are just using it for our ease of use here. Okay, very good questions, very good discussion here. Let's go back. Did you did you guys understood what is going on here with this? Uh, you guys understood, right? What is going on here?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so let's give me 1 second here. Let me just clear this up here. No, I don't want this. I don't want ping either. Okay, so I am looking at this permissions here. Okay, so there is S in there. And I'm removing the permissions here. So when I remove the permissions, the user is not able to password. Okay, so the user is getting the token manipulation error, which is obvious because we remove that. Why is the user not able to update the password? Because he doesn't have permissions. We remove the we remove this here sticky bit SUID set user ID. We remove that permission here. Okay, now then we gave it back here. Ls hyphen L shadow. Okay, so now we gave the permissions back and he's able to update it.
Sir, beside password thing, where SUID is
A lot
usually
of
used
things,
more?
a lot of places. I was gonna show you ping. The command ping used to be SUID. Let's see here, ls-l slash user ping right here, right? Let's do this here. What I'm gonna do is, for this command, let me see. You know, originally the ping command was also SUID. So let's see here. Chmod u minus s, and let me do this here. So let's run that here. It didn't make no change, right? Difference. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was trying to find here. Linux commands with SUID. Let's see here if this one is going to give us some other option. See, the ping used to be, back in 2013, ping used to be part of this. Let's look at mount. We haven't learned that. Okay, change password is here. And we learned about sudo also, right? Sudo. Let's look at the sudo file. Sudo file is pretty. Let's work with, play around with sudo file here. I'm going to clear this. So I think the user ID Zafar. Who had sudo access earlier? ID Zafar, right? Okay, user 1. So user 1 is able to become a root, right? User 1 Red Hat. Excuse me. Okay. So if we do sudo hyphen, remember you are a user here and you still become a, and then you give the password and then you should become root. Okay, you are a regular user, you don't know the user password, but you became a root here, right? Okay, so let me exit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the permission here. Chmod hyphen u minus s, and I'm going to give this here. Okay, so only root has execute permission, nobody else. So let's see if I could do this. There you go. This is one other example here is, now I remove the set UID. Now the user is not able to do the command what he's able to do as a user. So set UID inherits the execute permissions of the owner. If I put this back here, plus, now let's do sudo, he's able to do it now. Okay, I think we covered up a lot of stuff today, so I'm going to stop it here, and then I'm going to clean this up, the document, and put it online. Okay? Any questions?
Okay.
All right, we'll catch up tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Okay, bye.